regular meeting of council on July 23rd, 2024 to order at 6:30 p.m. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Is there any? Okay, no public meetings. Deputations, delegations, there are none. Adoption of meeting agenda. Draft motion. Be it resolved that council approve the agenda of the regular meeting dated July 23rd, 2024 as presented. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Starchuk and Councillor Hughes. Anything need to be added, changed, clarified on the agenda? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of previous council minutes. Draft motion. Be it resolved that council approve the following minutes as presented. Regular meeting of council, June 25th, 2024. Special meeting of council, July 9th, 2024. Mover and a seconder. Okay. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Hughes. Okay, any discussion on the minutes? None? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Staff reports. Public Works. July 2024. 7.2 Animal Control. February, March, April, May 2024. 7.3 Bylaw Enforcement, June 2024. 7.4 Cobalt Public Library Minutes, May 25th, 2024. 7.5 Staff Report 2024-07-2301, which is variance reports for Q1, Q2. 7.6 Staff Report 2024-07-2302, filling a vacant councillor seat. 7.7 Staff Report 2024-07-2303, request for removal of heritage designation at 34 Cobalt Street. 7.8 Staff Report 2024-07-2304, workplace violence and harassment bylaw. 7.9 Staff Report 2024-07-2305, surplus properties bylaw. Draft motion. Be it resolved that council accept the staff reports as presented. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, Councillor Anderson. Okay, and then we can start the discussion. 7.1 Public Works. Any clarification required on that report? Councillor Wilcox.
I was curious to know what the new method for safety on vehicles and things was that's mentioned in the report.
On the safety for vehicles?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's somewhere at the bottom of the page.
It's the last point under equipment.
It's a new program.
Oh, with the new drive-on program, it's just been brought forward by the ministry. So each, for you to have your motor vehicle inspection station, like that's being retired, it's being replaced by this drive-on, and only the vehicles that are under the municipality can be certified there through that process. Same process, but how they streamlined it a bit more, so to be that exact. So now for our vehicles, we have that mechanic comes in and he's certified and he's able to do with the drive-on program our vehicles only at that station. Cannot be any others. Like if someone else from another municipality wanted it certified, there cannot.
Does it save us money or cost us money?
Well, since it's a ministry, it'll be about the same.
It's just they come to us though.
Yeah.
So that saves us time.
Yeah, well, no, this was a vehicle service station before authorized, but it's just a new program.
Oh, okay.
You okay with that? Okay, 7.2 Animal Control, February, March, April, and May 2024. Any clarification required on this report or those reports?
Yeah, I didn't think we were getting reports, and all of a sudden we got them all.
Can we have a discussion about maybe getting more regular reports?
Yeah, that has been mentioned.
Okay. That's my only
When
clarification.
are we going to look at the service? When is that coming up?
I thought maybe we'll start that in September after summer.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing you say that.
I'll start looking at the new animal control bylaw
Yes.
or revamping the existing one. 7.3 bylaw enforcement, June 2024. Any clarification required on that report? Okay, 7.4 Cobalt Public Library minutes, May 25th, 2024. Any clarification required for this? No?
Excuse me, that was for the variance?
Nope,
Oh.
that was the library. That's the next one. You're ahead of me. 7.5 Staff Report 2024-07-2301. Variance Report, Quarter 1 and Quarter 2. Did you want to speak on that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to let you know, right now, I read in the report, we are within budget for the first 2 quarters this year. Staff has been working diligently to keep our costs as low as possible. So as it states, quarters 1 and 2 for revenues, we have 62.31% still remaining. And also expenditures, we still had 64.76% remaining at this time. Even though I know a lot of projects, some of the invoicing has not come in yet, but still we are on.
Everybody good with that? 7.6 Staff Report 2024-07-2302, filling a vacant counselor seat. Any clarification required on any of the points in the report? Councillor Wilcox.
My only question is, shouldn't we have accepted the resignation before looking at this? And secondly, could we get his resignation read into the public record?
Okay, first of all, this is just the staff report on it. If you look further in the agenda, we are discussing that.
All in there.
I'll settle for that.
So this is just the staff report on it.
Sure.
On the options. And what the recommendation from staff is. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, moving on. 7.7 Staff Report 2024-07-2303. Request for removal of heritage designation at 34 Cobalt Street. Any clarification required on this report? Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just to let you know that 34 Cobalt Street, the owner had come in about it in the aspect of requesting the removal of the heritage designation. There are certain steps that are mandatory for us to go through. And the first step is the advertising of it, just mentioned to the public and with a 30-day grace. It was stated into the report here, so, and it will be conducted further on into our agenda.
Can I just clarify, the manse is the house and not the church, or is it both?
I believe it is.
The manse, I think.
But the manse is
Yeah.
the house, right? Just
Yeah, the house,
clarification
yeah.
what manse means.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it comes under, if 34 Cobalt Street, it says United Church Manse.
Right, but I believe they're one. Like, I just
They're all on the
want to
same property,
clarify
are
Yeah.
they
that
not?
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
the
it's the house.
house, that manse means house,
Mhm.
and it's the residential dwelling and not the actual church that we're talking about, just right.
So, but I'm thinking it's everything.
Yeah, I
And the
believe
church
it's
too,
the
because they were
house is
talking
all on
about
the same
pillars on
property.
it as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Okay.
Your Worship?
Yeah.
Here back in 1979-09 is the bylaw here that put it in for designation. And it just characterized as Cobalt United Church Manse. So,
We,
Should be just the house.
Because they talk about a second floor window, like he has the balcony. So that to me is a description of the house. I was just.
Yeah, it is here. It states that it,
Original residences.
built in 1907.
Okay.
Yeah, it is cements.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. It's also referred to as a residence.
Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Wilcox?
Just wondering, did the owner give a reason why he wants the designation?
Actually,
Yeah, in the letter.
Insurance would be cheaper. Repairs and upgrades are cheaper because you don't have to go to, a 1907 window frame and stuff like that.
I believe one of the
Put new
steps
stuff
is
in.
also an open public meeting.
pardon?
One of the steps is also
Yeah.
an open public meeting
It is.
for the removal.
There's a letter from the owner too, that explains a lot.
We're going to talk about this more later, right?
Yeah. This is just a staff report on it. It's further on in the agenda
right
again,
there.
where we can have a more
That's good too.
robust discussion. Okay. 7.8, staff report 2024-07-2304, workplace violence and harassment bylaw. Okay, this is just a staff report on it.
Yeah, this is an update from the first two readings, what the request was. So the request has been put in there for the change to its state. The incident shall be reported directly to the municipality appointed legal counsel. Right on, so that's what the change was.
Okay. And again, we'll get into a further discussion on that when we get to the bylaw itself. This is just if anybody needs clarification on the staff report. Staff report 2024-07-2305, surplus properties bylaw. Okay. And Steve?
Yeah, your worship. A couple meetings ago, this was brought forward. And I know some of the discussion on it was about 20% to be up to 20% be approved. It has been changed down to 15%, but the key thing is it does not need to be accepted by the clerk at the discretion. So just say if something goes for 3,000 and you're looking at 85%, if it's there, the council can decide, clerk would decide, okay, you know what, instead of waiting to go to council for this. But if it's something of a large sum, of course, council would be in the decision making of it. But it's not an exact, yes, it's within 15%, so it's of course, no, it's discretionary.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, all in favor of accepting the staff reports? Okay. Carried. 8 items for council consideration. 8.1, letter of resignation from Councillor Cooper. Draft motion, be it resolved that the council for the corporation of the town of Cobalt receives a resignation from Councillor Cooper this 23rd day of July 2024. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, Councillor Anderson. All right, discussion. I will start it off by reading Councillor Cooper's letter of resignation as it's been requested to be read.
Should that be read out loud though in a recorded meeting already?
Attention, Mayor and Council, please accept this letter as my resignation as Councillor of the Town of Cobalt effective immediately. This decision has not been taken lightly, and I sincerely apologize to all the residents of Cobalt for not completing my term. I find it very frustrating that we as council have not accomplished anything significant in the past 21 months, except burdening the taxpayers with increased taxes. I urge all residents to attend meetings and hold your mayor and council accountable for their actions before it's too late. Demand transparency and accountability. Gary Cooper. So I'll start off by thanking Councillor Cooper for his participation on our Sharp Lake Committee, the Water Commission, the Procedural Bylaw Committee, as well as his contribution on the last 2 budget committees, and the budgets were struck from those working groups that he participated on. His contributions were greatly appreciated. All right. And then I'll go around the table, and if anybody has anything they'd like to say, we can start it off. Councillor Wilcox?
Just that I'm very disappointed that Councillor Cooper has resigned. I understand his frustration. Some of the things that this council's been doing and the way we've done it has frustrated me as well.
Okay, point of order. Keep your comments to the resignation letter, please.
I believe I was. But since you're going to use the gavel, I will decline to speak further.
It's your choice. Councillor Anderson?
Well, I'm disappointed that he quit. Thankful that he was on those first 2 budget committees. He did lend an awful lot of good ideas to it, and I know the budget was tight and hard and on all the taxpayers, but it was something we had no choice for, and he really added to what we were doing.
Very valuable contribution there. Councillor Hunter?
I'm sad that he thinks he didn't accomplish anything because he's been pushing for the fire truck the whole time, which only actually increased our costs and our expenses. So I'm not sure how you want to achieve things without increasing taxes. But I do wish him the best, and I am thankful for what he has contributed thus far.
Councillor Sarchuk?
Yeah, I just want to thank him for his contributions too. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that he gave up on this. He doesn't seem to have much faith in us either, so it's unfortunate. That's all I'm going to say.
Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, like of course. I second and third everything everyone said. It's too bad that he quit. Left us in a bit of a predicament now to try to fill his seat. I just wanted to mention that he was on both of the budgets there that increased the taxes, so that's pretty good. Good for him. Even though he said that that's all that we've done, but he had a significant role in the tax increase.
Okay.
It's all there.
Okay. So all in favor of accepting?
If we say no, he has to come back.
No, I don't think that'll happen. Okay, so carried. 8.2, declare Councillor Cooper's seat vacant. Preceding staff report. Draft motion, whereas pursuant to section 262-1 of the Municipal Act, if the office of a member of council becomes vacant, the council shall, at its next meeting, declare the office to be vacant. And whereas pursuant to section 263, the municipality shall fill the councillor vacancy within 60 days after the declaration is made. Now therefore be it resolved that council declares this councillor seat as vacant, and further that council invites interested and eligible persons to submit an application for appointment to council. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Hunter. Okay, any discussion on the
I have a
declaration?
slight discussion on it. Since we just said his seat was empty, now do we have the next meeting to start the ball rolling on this?
Worship, we can do it after, well, this one here, do expressions of interest. And that, you never was some documentation.
Okay, is this where we're gonna discuss that? Oh, no, that's the next.
No, that would be this one.
Oh, sorry, I missed part of this bylaw. And
Did
further, that council invites interested and eligible persons to submit an application for appointment to council. Okay, so, at the last minute, because we've been looking at what other municipalities do, we pulled what another municipality does and their advertisement that goes out. So it asks for interested individuals that are looking to fill a vacant seat, to fill out a nomination form, declaration of qualifications and proof of eligibility, just like we do when we're running for election, a consent to release personal information, and a personal statement of qualifications. And they can, if council so desires, we can put the links on our site, as well as they could come into the office, but they have to be submitted to the office to come to council. I think it's a better way to do it. It's kind of following the same steps we all do when we run for an election, that you have to fill out the nomination form and go through the steps. It just shows that you're serious and that you're going to be committed.
Okay, but can I comment on this?
Yeah.
We had, it says we had different options. Option 1 to appoint.
Yeah, that's if we choose the option that was recommended.
Okay,
But we-
but you're are we assuming that that's the way we're going to do it, or we have to vote on
Your
procedure?
Staff just put this one in there just as a recommendation. It's because we're already halfway through this term already. And previously, from other years that have gone by, later into the terms, it's always, like, been a request of interest, anyone interested for a council seat at that time, instead of going back to any previous poll results, because it's already been 2 years.
I understand that, but we have official.
If we need to change the bylaw, we can.
We have official election results. It's the only thing we really have to go by is the last election. And we as a council should not be voting in or appointing the next councillor. I think that has to come from the residents of town of Cobalt. I think should be choosing that, and not us solely ourselves, right? My personal opinion on
Okay.
this.
Councillor Anderson?
So the discussions.
Just historically, every council I've been on, we've had to bring in a new councillor. This is the way we've done it. It's an expression of interest for whoever feels they can do that they're qualified to do the job. And I can see maybe filling out the forms, doing it all this way. Before it was just sending in a letter to. That's how I got on the first time, just sending in a letter.
Okay.
As an expression of interest, and then all the people that, sort of applied, then council met and decided amongst themselves which one.
Okay, I'm going to go around the table and let everybody speak first, and then we'll come back and let you speak again, okay?
Yeah, Your worship, if council wanted to go with, get a poll done, it's called a by-election. And that will come financially expensive. We have to redo ballots, everything. And it just comes directly from the taxpayer pocket that way. And that's the most expensive route to go. And I would recommend council try and avoid that route, because that wasn't even taken into the budget.
Yeah.
So those costs would be added on.
And I know what Councillor Anderson is saying. Historically, we don't normally go back to the election results when we're this far into the term. When you're closer to the election, it makes sense.
But shouldn't we at least go to the next person in line that that didn't make it and just approach them and ask them if they're interested still, just to,
Well, if we
because they
put
did
a,
accomplish this.
if we put a letter out there, if they're still interested, they'll
Yeah.
probably apply, right?
But I would say the people that were left underneath, like say Councillor Anderson at 150 votes, you have Jennifer Pereira at 137, and then we go to Renee Lafleur at 135, et cetera, to the bottom of the list. Shouldn't we exhaust all those before we go to this next option? In
They
my
have the
mind, it would
freedom
seem like the
to-
most democratic way to do it. I don't like this.
They have the
Arts
freedom
Council.
to send in a letter
Yeah.
and apply
I know,
and decide for
and then
themselves.
we're deciding alone who's going to be the next councillor and not the town. See, the town actually spoke here. I mean, the votes might have been different now if you did the election, but we can't afford the election. So really, we only have this official document to go by from that. So that's what I'm saying.
That's why we're discussing
Yeah.
it. Councillor Hunter?
If we did have a wealth of funds from the silver sitting underneath us, and we had another election, the ballot would be completely different than
Yeah,
this. There
I
are new
understand that.
people in town who are interested, maybe have moved to town, maybe have new situations and the time available. So to also not give those people the opportunity. So it's trying to blend. Those people can reapply. We have new people and we can't afford an election and they have to trust us. They did elect us, that we're going to put someone on that's going to represent the best interest of the town.
And not their own personal interests, right? Correct.
Well, we're doing it as a group and we all already have varying opinions. So it's not like we're all in one camp. I think that there will be a heated debate over who is chosen, even if we do it ourselves.
Yeah, left us in a real pickle.
Councillor Hughes? No. You have any comments on?
Nope, just a pickle.
Councillor Wilcox?
I'm going to sympathize with Councillor Starchuck. There's something wonderful in a democracy about having people vote. And yeah, a great deal of time has gone by, but sometimes I think the people have a right to choose who sits on the council. So if you wanted to move that, I would second it
All right.
as a choice, if you would like to push the election, Jim.
Should do it, maybe.
Don't-
Find out how much
I don't
election will
believe in-
cost us.
Well, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't believe we want a new election. I did believe I wanted to refer back to this.
Oh,
You know, because that wouldn't cost, too much cost. That's why I was saying, we do have this piece of paper here to go by, standings, and it would be next in line, right? That's all I'm trying to say. I didn't want to be responsible, us guys picking the next councillor, because the town should be doing that as a whole. That's my point. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, all I can say is historically in the past, we have invited expressions of interest from people who are interested. And this is also the way other municipalities also do it as well, when this much time has gone by after an election. So, Councillor Hunter.
Do we have the option to leave the seat vacant, or does it have to be?
It has to be filled by under the municipal act within 60 days of the declaration. Okay, so I guess we'll vote on the motion.
Motion.
Well, this is, I guess,
There wasn't a motion put on the table.
Who was seconded?
well,
He said if you
the
put it,
draft motion, well, hang on, the draft motion reads, council invites interested and eligible persons to submit an application for appointment to council. So that's what we'll vote on.
oh, okay.
If it's defeated, then we'll do it the other way. And we'll do a recorded vote on that.
If somebody wants it, sure, but I don't care.
Yeah.
It's kind of recorded anyways, right?
Okay. Okay, I called for the recorded vote, so I'll vote for Councillor Anderson.
Or
We did a mover and a seconder.
Doing our
didn't we?
regular thing.
To do the original.
Seconder on the
original
original?
one, yeah.
Yes. We did a mover and a seconder.
We'll have to get a refresh or something. motion.
Okay, Counselor Hughes,
What are we voting on here again, just so Jim knows?
inviting interested and eligible persons to submit an application.
Okay, yes, for.
Okay, Counselor Hunter
Or
and Counselor Starchuk,
Against.
Counselor Wilcox.
Against.
Okay, that would be 4 and 2 against. Motion carried. 8.3, signing authority, draft motion, whereas all financial transactions and banking instruments require 2 signatures by the corporation. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorizes Cassandra Goldwyn as the alternate signing authority for all banking instruments. And further that council confirm that Stephen Daly, remains the primary signing authority. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Starchuk and Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? I'd just like to state, if I can, that this is just as a result of the change in the office with Dale's retirement. And Cassandra's taking on the full role.
Sorry, taking on what?
Taking on the full role of what Dale was doing. Dale was assigned a second signing authority.
Yes.
So now Cassandra's moved into that position because Dale is retired. So now Cassandra is going to be the second signature.
The alternative.
The alternate signature.
If it's not mine, it'd be Cassandra.
Yes.
Of course, a council member.
Yeah, is the second. Sorry, I misspoke. The alternate. Okay. Mover and a seconder. Did I move it?
I gotta vote.
Sorry, I'm losing track of it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? 8.4, Temiskaming Health Unit, proclamation of International Overdose Awareness Day. Draft motion, whereas the town of Cobalt does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by the drug poisoning overdose crisis. And whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering loved ones lost to drug poisoning and ending the stigma of substance abuse and mental health. And whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of drug poisoning in Temiskaming, which claims lives of more than 9 residents last year, together with countless more affected forever. And whereas we affirm that people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, and deserving our loves, compassion, and support. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Angela Adsett, Mayor, do hereby claim August 31st, 2024 as International Overdose Awareness Day in the town of Cobalt, and would like to thereby affirm a district-wide commitment to foster a healthier and safer community. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Starchuk, any discussion?
Yeah, is that a typo, told of drug poison? Is that told, or is it the toll, the T-O-L-L? I'm not sure. I'm misunderstanding it.
It's supposed to be T-O-L-L. Okay, toll.
Okay. No, it changes it a bit. I kind of wondered as I was reading it. Okay.
So we're voting.
Voting to accept to do the drug awareness overdose day. Okay. All right. So, all in favor? Carried. 8.5, request for removal of historical designation at 34 Cobalt Street. Staff report 2024-07-2303. Draft motion, whereas the clerk for the town of Cobalt has received an application to repeal the heritage designation at 34 Cobalt Street. And whereas section 32-2 of the Ontario Heritage Act states that upon receiving an application, the council, the municipality, shall cause notice to be given by the clerk of the municipality in accordance with subsection 3, and such notice of an application shall be published in a newspaper having general circulation in the municipality. And whereas council received staff report 2024-07-2303, now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to publish a notice of application for 34 Cobalt Street as per section 32 of the Ontario Heritage Act. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, Councillor Anderson. Discussion? Councillor Anderson?
Much as I love that house, I really do. I understand why the heritage status needs to come off. It costs so much in every which way to find the exact right colors, the exact right this, the exact right that, in order to keep it exact. But when you're doing that, you're not coming up to today's building code, and then there's insurance problems and stuff like that. I know other people who are in a heritage place and, it's cost them so much extra. When you've got a good owner that loves the house and will keep it as original as possible within reason, then the heritage designation should come off.
Councillor Hunter?
Also, I did drive by the house and I'm familiar with the church part of the building. I'm pretty certain that it's had significant alterations since this bylaw was put down, and it hasn't followed the designation in the meantime. So I think that if we're not going to make the effort to hold people accountable for 45 years, then it's unfortunate to suddenly start, and it makes sense to remove it.
Anybody else? Councillor Hughes?
I agree 100%. I think it'd be nice to have a house that's in half decent shape still standing rather than too expensive or hard to update and keep up, and then we have to tear it down. So I think it doesn't matter what color it is. Enjoy the house.
Councillor Sturgeon?
I believe he said in his letter that he was going to respect the heritage and everything. Even when we make the changes, he's still going to respect the look of it and everything. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't. So after, just to clarify, so after the, it gets posted in the newspaper, we then have to do a public meeting? Is there a timeline on that?
What will happen, it'll be coming back to our September meeting. It has to be out for 30 days, which will put it past our next regular meeting. So we're going to September, and then we'll bring all the documentation at that time to council.
Okay.
And then to move forward. This is the first step that needs to be done.
Okay, and then the next step would be a public meeting after that?
It would be coming to council to review and oversee if any responses, anything like that. So we just got to take it step by step.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, there is a process here that the ministry has put forward.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor? Carried. Items for council information, 9.1, fire truck update. Am I gonna speak on that, or are you gonna speak on that?
Thank you, Your Worship.
We have wonderful news that we finally secured the funding for the fire truck. So.
Your Worship, I received a letter from Infrastructure Ontario saying we have been approved. It's been a long, hard battle, and our last budget, it seems to be excellent in the eyes of Infrastructure Ontario. And therefore now there's just a bit of a process that I'm going to be discussing stuff with Infrastructure Ontario. There's going to be a bylaw coming to our next meeting as well. And disbursement of funds is looking at early September. So.
Okay.
So we have been approved. It's been a long, hard. So
A lot of discussion
Mhm.
with infrastructure.
Yes.
9.2 AMO advocacy on homelessness and camp. There's the other item for council information. Draft motion, be it resolved that council accept the items for council information as presented. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Wilcox and Councillor Starchuk. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Carried. 10, bylaws and agreements. 10.1, bylaw 2024-23, workplace violence and harassment policy. Staff report 2024-07-2304. Draft motion, whereas municipalities must comply with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, RSO 1990, as amended, and more specifically, Section 32, which requires employers to adopt a policy and establish a program with respect to workplace violence and harassment. And whereas Section 25-2 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act requires that an employer takes every precaution reasonable in the circumstances for the protection of the worker. And whereas Section 217.1 of the Criminal Code of Canada states that everyone who undertakes or has the authority to direct how another person does work or performs a task is under a legal duty to take reasonable steps to prevent harm to that person or any other person arising from that work or task. And whereas council received staff report 2024-07-2304, recommending the adoption of bylaw 2024-23, being a bylaw to adopt a workplace violence and harassment policy and program. And now therefore be it resolved that bylaw 2024-23, being a bylaw to adopt a workplace violence and harassment policy and program, be taken as read a third time and finally passed this 23rd day of July 2024, and further that said bylaw be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Hunter. Any discussion? Councillor Wilcox.
Well, as noted in our meeting last month, there were some things about this that bothered me, and I reread it, and I've looked at a number of other bylaws passed by other municipalities, and I'm still very much uncomfortable with this one. There are a number of things in it. I find it's lengthy, 20 pages. Most other bylaws are more, I don't want to say terse, but straightforward in laying out everything, everybody's duties.
Concise,
It's more readily understandable.
concise.
There are things that I have trouble with. On page 5, there's a wonderful little section, and it's all very good. We must furthermore always treat ourselves, our colleagues, our stakeholders, etc. That's a nice motherhood kind of a statement. But I don't know who the we refers to. I'm not sure who it's being addressed to. And I think it's the kind of thing that might belong under the whereas section at the beginning of it, giving a rationale for why we're passing it. Yes,
Which line here were you looking at?
that's the top 2 paragraphs on page 5.
Furthermore, okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. To my mind, that's the kind of thing you put in your whereas section where you're saying why you're passing the bylaw and what you're looking for. I also have trouble still at the very first part. We have the short title and then we have a lengthy preamble. I find the second sentence below the first paragraph is pretty much what comes up under 1.3, the first sentence. Slightly different words, but essentially saying the same thing. My real difficulty with it is the restrictions being placed by the law firm on our ability to reproduce this bylaw for any purpose other than use of the town. I get that the law firm wants to protect us making any changes to the bylaw because that would negate their legal opinion on it. But again, I think that kind of thing should be carried as an addendum at the back of the bylaw, not in the body of the bylaw. And as I say, I think a lot of the language could be firmed up, made more plain, more direct. So anyway, I would like to see us do a lot more work before we look at approving any kind of a policy. And I think it would be really good if staff would find us some similar policies passed by other municipalities, because I think it's important that you guys see the difference between them.
Councillor Hunter.
As for the length, I mean, I've read harassment policies by corporations and other organizations and not just municipalities. And I think length can be good when you're, I think clarity, and sometimes you need length to have clarity to address various situations. So I'm not complaining about the length, but I do agree with Councillor Wilcox about especially the first two paragraphs where it starts off talking about a we and then a you. And so I don't like the we and you part, especially you, because this is a bylaw, so it shouldn't be talking about a you at all. But under 1.3 guiding principles, this commitment requires that all members of council, officers and employees, volunteer firefighters, and other municipalities actively demonstrate at all times a respect for others and appreciation for differences. Perhaps there we could add, from here on in, referred to as we, or, and that would then, so then we clearly know who this we is, but I don't think it should be a you because it's not a lecture. But otherwise, so for more of a grammatical and understanding of who it's applying to, but otherwise I'm fine with the bylaw.
Because I have a legal background, I'm going to clarify this thing that's coming up about furthermore, we must always treat ourselves, our colleagues, our stakeholders, and our residents with the utmost respect and goodwill. And the we, actually, if you continue reading this in its entirety, this section, who this policy applies to: A, members of council; B, officers and employees of the town; C, local board and committee members; D, volunteer firefighters; E, other volunteers. That's who the we refers to.
So maybe not you, maybe turn the yous into we's, and so make it like a joint thing and not like a personal thing, if that makes sense. So it's not just you are the key to success, we are the key to success, and we must always conduct ourselves.
I think that's just meant to say whoever's reading it is the you. Like if I'm reading it, it's you, it's me.
We all have a duty to treat ourselves, our colleagues, our stakeholders, and our residents as a group. And then the you must always conduct yourself respectfully. We can't control how somebody else conducts themselves. We can only control how we conduct ourselves. So that's why the switch from the plural to the singular. Does that?
Sort of, but then it feels like a lecture rather than a bylaw. I don't know.
I'm with you. I've read a lot of different workplace violence and harassment policies because of working in HR payroll, and the legal background is also that I have. And they are lengthy, and they're lengthy for a reason, because workplace violence and harassment is a very complex issue. And it can come about in a number of different ways. So they have to cover any potential ways that it can occur. And the steps have to be laid out very clearly of what happens when it does happen, so that there's a policy. Because then if it ever comes to litigation or legal action, you have to also be able to prove that you're dealing with things in the same manner every time. That there's no favoritism. You're not giving one person a little more leeway than another person, or you have to be able to prove that you have a standard across the board.
Plus lawyers charge per word, don't they?
Yeah, not normally, they charge by time. It may seem like it's by word sometimes, but it's actually by time. So I like the way it's laid out. I like how in-depth it is, because there's no guessing. This is what you're going to do in this situation. This is what these definitions mean. So there's no ambiguity. It's not.
Ambiguity.
Thank you. I'm having problems pronouncing words tonight. There's no guesswork involved. So, and it is plain language. They're not hitting you with words you can't understand or acronyms you can't understand. Whereas, I'm sorry, I've read some bylaws that are whereas you to death. So, that's my opinion. Councillor Hughes?
Is there anything else, Doug, that you had a question with in there?
Well, I appreciate all of your comments. It's a reasonable document to some extent, I think. I'm not suggesting that anything that's in there is not valid or appropriate. But what I am suggesting is that from the bylaws that I have seen, and there may be some out there that are really bad and I haven't looked at them, or there might be some that are outdated and don't take in current legal status. So, those things happen too. But I just think it could be much more straightforward, much plainer than what it is. It do go on and on and on. One thing I noticed is, it's pretty much report the crime, get a verdict, slam bam, on with it. I don't see anything about conflict resolution particularly in there. And to my mind, a lot of the things that if you follow the letter of the law, which you have to do, but before you get that far, you can interpose other things that can mediate the effect of that. There are things that are often done where there are misunderstandings and they lead to other things. They don't necessarily need to involve a law firm or an integrity commissioner. We're about to pass payment for E4M for what, $6,000 or something like that, I think. It's a lot of money going out. And I would like to see us doing a lot more in-house rather than, and when I read this, quite honestly, I find it tends to channel things towards you will contact the law firm or you will contact the integrity commissioner. And I'm not sure, a lot of the other ones I've seen, there's on one, there was just one simple line, consult with legal or other government agencies. Didn't get into all of that about who we're going to call them, when we're going to call them. I'm not sure that that's necessary, and I'm not sure that we want to almost automatically be sending things upstream where it costs us.
Who would you suggest, if it doesn't go that level, if you did have a complaint, where would it go first? Like, who would you talk to? The town manager, or would you have a human resource person? Like, I'm not sure.
There are all kinds of, we could have a joint health and safety committee that things could be appealed to. We have a union, they have in that agreement, and in some of the ones I've seen, they address a 4-stage resolution to complaints. If you've got a worker who's messing up, you give them a verbal warning, you give them a written warning, you suspend them, and then you fire them. But each of those stages gives you an opportunity to try conflict resolution, to see if you can work with the individual to make it better, rather than going from A to Z, And yes, the reports could reflect that, but every report I've seen that came out has always gone to the maximum. And I'm not sure that's a good thing either.
Counselor Hughes?
Yeah, maybe I can get clarification. This seems to be maybe like this is kind of the last stop, this policy. I think we have other things on the books for conflict control and to deal with things, mediate things before it gets to this level. Is this just kind of like the end of the road level?
This is
Like
when
we got
somebody
stuff
files a
to-
complaint.
We got stuff before the complaint gets filed to try to in-house work it and workshop it, and then this is at the end, right? Okay. I feel a bit better about that then.
Gary, I'm not sure if that's totally accurate because if the complaint is made, doesn't matter from whom, it's all anonymous. But if you make a complaint, then it just goes right into this.
Wouldn't you make the complaint to like Steve or something
Okay,
first, or?
yeah, and I would just like to say that if the complaint doesn't come into the office, then
Skips
an
it, right?
individual can file a complaint with the human rights.
Ombudsman.
No, not the ombudsman, they can go right to the human rights and file a complaint. They can go to the labor board and file a complaint.
So do we even need this policy?
Well, no, we're required by law to have a policy in place, and our, we'll file a bylaw. Do we even have a
Outdated?
bylaw? It's so outdated that,
Yeah, some of it is definitely out of legislation.
so, I guess I don't understand. This sets out how we do it. If there is, it saves the lawyer's fees. There can be lawyer's fees involved, no matter what.
Mhm.
You know, whether you have something in-house and it says that you have to contact legal, or this person goes to the Human Rights Commission and files a complaint and you have to hire legal counsel then. Like, workplace violence and harassment's something that the government's getting very serious about. And it's not just municipal government, it's also in the private sector. Under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, every employer is supposed to have one.
Your Worship, there is like a part 4 here. If you look investigation of alleged violations, it tells you step by step by step.
Where's that one, buddy?
17. And this, so it takes a lot of the questions out. Well, it should do this. No, this is how it's going to go through. And like we said earlier there, that revised, if the town clerk is the alleged perpetrator, the incident shall be reported to the mayor. If a member of council is the alleged perpetrator, the incident shall be reported directly to the municipality appointed legal counsel.
Yeah, if anybody's been following the news, there's been workplace harassment complaints that have been filed by councilors against mayors. Against staff, from staff against council.
So what should we do with this? Do we postpone it and look into it more, or like that?
Throw it out of our face. Get away from us. Deal with that.
I know, but we have councils that aren't happy with it.
Well, then give a vote.
I don't know, we can decide to vote on it, or we can decide to
Can
defer
we
it.
defer? Is your main problem, Doug, just because the lawyers did it and it's gonna cost us money, or?
No, everything that I said is part of my problem with it.
Okay. Because if it's just the lawyers and the money thing, then we can maybe slam one together.
Worship, there is no charge.
Oh. Now you said we were paying $6,000 for it.
Well, we're paying $6,000 to them for something. We should get an itemized bill on that.
Oh.
Then we would know what it's for.
Okay, well, if that was the only problem, then we could have maybe cheapened it up a bit.
Councillor Anderson?
Well, to me, reading it through, I've gone through it 3 or 4 times, and it covers all the ifs, ands, and buts pretty thoroughly. Yeah, it's, it's a lot, it's pretty wordy, but there's so many ifs, ands, and buts every time you
can't say
someone
buts.
says harassment and you're never going to get a document that says it all perfectly for every single situation that comes up. You just have to have a document that says, okay, in this case, this is the next step. And to remediation or whatever, to guide us through the steps. If it's really bad, or if it's not really bad, to set a guide for, you know, sitting down and working it out within the group. And I think that's all in there. It's all set out pretty carefully.
Simplified, it says treat it as the way you want to be treated.
Yes, exactly.
Don't harass anybody, we're
Yeah.
cool.
Save paper too.
Yeah.
Would save a lot of paper.
Yeah.
Someone would come up with a way around it.
Okay, so are we gonna vote on it, or does council wish to defer it? Vote on it? Okay.
Yeah.
Recorded, please.
Okay, and I recorded vote, please. Counselor Wilcox,
Against.
Counselor Anderson,
For.
Counselor Counselor Hughes,
4?
Counselor Hunter,
Or
Counselor Sturchuk,
4.
Mayor Adsett, 4.
At the very least, it's a stepping stone in the right direction.
5-4,
Whether
1
it's perfect or
against.
not, right?
Motion carried.
And if something does pop out later on, we can always make an addendum, right?
10.2, bylaw 2024-27 to govern the disposal of real property. Staff report 2024-07-2305. Draft motion, whereas council received staff report 2024-07-2305 with a recommendation to adopt a disposal of real property bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-27, being a bylaw to govern the disposal of real property, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of July 2024. And further, that said bylaw be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson? Councillor Wilcox? Discussion? Clarification? I'm good with it. If we were selling $1 million properties, I might not be, but
Yeah.
we're not selling $1 million properties. Okay. All in favor? Carried. 10.3, bylaw 2024-28, appointment of a deputy clerk treasurer. Draft motion, be it resolved that bylaw 2024-28, being a bylaw to appoint Cassandra Baudouin as deputy clerk treasurer for the corporation and town of Cobalt, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of July 2024. And further, that the said bylaw be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Starchuk. Any discussion? Councillor Wilcox?
I'm just curious, when we elevated Dale to the position she occupied, the mayor then had a meeting with the union to discuss that appointment and what was going to be happening in the front office. Has the union been approached with any of this?
First of all, this is somebody moving from a union position to a non-union position.
Right.
So no, it has not, because the union numbers in the office will not have changed. Because Cassandra's position will be filled. So a lot of that discussion came about because we also restructured the office at that time. We're not
Yes.
restructuring, now we're just replacing.
Yes. So there will be another individual coming in then.
Yes. Yeah. So in answer to your question, the short answer is no, we have not consulted with union because there was really no need at this point. Okay,
I guess just for my clarification is, what is her job title now and what does deputy clerk treasurer mean?
Dale's, okay, so Dale's retired,
Yeah, yeah,
so the deputy clerk treasurer she's.
that was
taking-
Dale's job.
Yeah.
Dale's
she's
Oh, so this
taking-
is just telling us that she's taking a job, that she's not taking another job.
Yeah, and we need to do a bylaw.
How many jobs you want over there?
No,
Alright.
she's not getting another job.
That's good, okay.
This is just for the succession in the office,
All right.
okay?
Kind of a little after the fact, isn't it? She's been doing it for a couple months already.
Well, she's been training,
Okay, I gotcha.
okay? Now it's official.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? All right, all in favor? Carried. Unfinished business, there is none. New business, schedule of accounts. And bear with me just a moment. Schedule schedule of accounts, draft motion, be it resolved that council receives the following schedules as presented. Schedule 2024-12 in the amount of $146,110.96. Schedule 2024-13 in the amount of $321,837.24. Need a mover and a seconder? Counselor Hughes? Counselor Anderson? Okay, any clarification required? Counselor Wilcox?
Could we get an itemized, the itemized billing from E4M?
For the breakdown,
Yeah, it's on the page 4 of the schedule. It is broke down what it is. Well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. Alright. So you're good with that?
Sure.
Can we ask for a discount?
Sorry?
Can we ask for a discount?
Um, any other clarification required?
I had one question. I saw it somewhere when I flipped through real quick. Two-way radio. That's on here somewhere? What do we use those for? The shop guys or? I just flipped through. I said somewhere it's a two-way radio and I didn't.
If you could tell us a number, can you find it?
for the two-way radios are usually for the shop and for fire department.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't see the money amount or anything. I just seen two-way radio and I was gonna go back to it, but I couldn't find it again.
That may be installation.
I was
to the
gonna
new
ask if that's
F-550.
something that we needed. If it's
Oh, for the new
Fire
truck?
guys.
Yeah. Maybe it there.
For the new
For the
shiny truck.
installation, yeah.
You still looking for it, or are you okay with that explanation?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just, it was, yeah, I still haven't found it again then.
All of our two-way radios are used for safety precautions at all times in communications.
Okay. And is that like a monthly fee we pay for that or? Oh, that's just a buy it and we own it.
The only ones that we do pay a fee on is for the fire department. That's a yearly fee, that's with our responder.
Okay,
New radio for the new truck.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Any other clarification? All right. All in favor? Carried. Mayor's report. We have nothing. Other than they've done a great job on the demolition so far. Staff has been keeping me updated with photos.
I've been sending it all to council, updated photos. They have done a phenomenal job. We had our engineer, Don Decker, on site. We've had our building inspector also on site. We've also had our planner on site prior of any work was done on it. So we had covered everything to ensure a very safe takedown of the building. There was no damage to any of the other structures. In fact, our engineer had a policeman, I don't know what you would call it, but seeing if there would be any movement from the other buildings through the process. It was recorded, none. So,
Turns out the buildings were not attached.
yeah.
That's perfect.
Did our guys do the demo? Like, did I see them up there?
No, we were on site. We had a contractor to do the demo, very professional and very prestige. Like, when taking the stuff down,
Yeah.
very, very meticulous.
I thought I saw our public works department in there doing stuff too.
They were assisting in hauling the rubble.
Hauling the river, okay.
Yeah, away.
Out there.
We had number Demora involved, ourselves, to us to get it out so we could get reopening there sooner than later.
So will it be open for tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow, anticipating one lane will be open, and we will be using Demora the lights.
Yeah, about first thing in the morning for the bus. I'm just, are we still gonna detour? Because I gotta know which bus to take.
I have to check with our public works superintendent overseeing that project, but I could see shortly, like around 8-ish.
Okay, so I'll use the other bus.
Okay, and,
Go the other way for a couple hours.
okay, and I lied, I do have something. I would like to remind our residents who have dogs that 5:30 in the morning is not an appropriate time to put your multiple dogs out to bark and wake up your neighbors. Don't treat others how you don't want to be treated. It's not a very nice wake up. And it's happening more and more frequently with more and more houses. It is a contravention of our, not just our animal control bylaw, but our noise bylaw. So I can see if it continues that people will start filing complaints. Because I've heard some very nasty comments in the morning from other people listening to it. Because I am up extremely early and sitting on the veranda. Councillor Hughes.
We should remind people to get their dog tags as well.
And yes, get your dog tags. Councillor Wilcox.
As long as you mention the noise bylaws, it's still 7 AM?
Yes, it is. And 8 AM on Saturday and Sunday.
Just thought we should let folks know.
Yeah. And that includes putting your animals out at 11:30 and 12 o'clock at night and allowing the same thing to occur. So I'd just like to remind everybody, don't treat out your neighbors the way you want them to treat you. So, Councillor Hendrick.
Well done with the Canada Day breakfast. I know it was a long time ago, but it was since our last meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, so, but I did put a post on Facebook thanking everybody that assisted, all the volunteers, the businesses, everybody that participated in the parade. I think that was one of our better Canada Days. It reminded me a lot of the old celebrations in Cobalt. A lot of activities for the kids. There was kids all over the place. It wasn't have our parade and everybody left. At 4 o'clock, there was still people downtown. So it was nice. It was really nice to see.
I enjoyed the music in the park there I was watching.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah, it was a really nice day. They did a phenomenal job. Anybody involved in it should give themselves a big pat on the back. I tried to get to everything. I'm not sure I quite made it to everything, but I did try. So yeah, and the fire department did an awesome job on the barbecue. It was very nice to stop and have a nibble. Breakfast wore off by then. Okay. 14, closed meeting, draft motion. Be it resolved that council convene in closed session as per section 239 in Municipal Act 2001 as amended in order to address a matter pertaining to subsection 2A, security of the property of the municipality or local board. 2B, a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. 2I, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Starchuk. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. We will not be resuming video after the closed meeting.